Namaste and good morning to all of you. Let's start the class with some prayers first. Om Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parbrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Om Bhubhuva Swaha, Tatsavitra Varenayam, Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi, Dhiyo Yo Nah Prachodayat. Asto ma Satgamya, Tamso ma Jyotirgamya, Mrityorma Amritam Gamya. Om Sehna Vavatu, Sehna Bhunaktu, Saviryam Karvavahi, Tejasvi Navadhitamastu, Ma Vidvishavahi. Om Shanti 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 Om. So we finished Katha Upanishad last week. So today we are going to start a new Upanishad. And anybody who is starting, who's new in these classes, if you are not familiar with the Vedas and the Upanishads, just a little introduction. Vedas are the oldest texts known to humankind. They are considered sacred. They are all written in Sanskrit, hymns of praise to these elemental forces which sustain us. The sun, the rain, the fire, the wind, the water. And where they were written, these rishis, they were in that part of this world which is called India right now, or Bharatvarsh. Okay. And Upanishads are part of the Vedas. So there are 4 Vedas: Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Atharva Veda, and Sam Veda, 4 Vedas. So these Upanishads which we are studying, they are part of the Vedas. And they are also very sacred, because they are the last part of the Upanishads. They are also called Gyan Kand. Some of them are hymns, but most of them are in a story form. Poetry, but story. Conversation between a guru and the students, the disciples. And what are these stories and the conversations mainly about? Unraveling the answers to very fundamental questions which human beings are asking. And we still don't have clear answers. Because in order to even understand these Upanishads, we need a very subtle intellect. Sometimes we got to read between the lines what the Guru is saying. And what are some of these fundamental questions? Where did the universe come from? Who am I? What is the purpose of my life? Is there a God? And if so, who, where, in what form, he or she or it? What is death? How can I be 100% happy all the time? How do I decide what the right thing to do is in a particular situation? So these are some of the fundamental questions which are answered in these Upanishads, sometimes in the story forms, or sometimes just a mere conversation between a guru and the shishya. You will see the sages of these Upanishads, they were never in the business of making money, or even making other people believe what they themselves knew for a fact. Instead, they were ardent seekers of the secrets of the universe. And they were on this great quest simply to satisfy their own curiosities. And once the secrets, they had been revealed to their trained, disciplined minds in a sudden and unexpected flash of inspiration, they couldn't wait to share them with everyone. They just didn't want to keep it to themselves. They were always willing and open to share it with other people. In fact, these Vedic seers, to the students also, they encouraged, go out and share, spread this knowledge. The more seeds of this truth we spread, more beautiful plants there will be. These sages did not want wealth, power, or even faith in return. That is the beautiful part. They were so unconcerned about these things that they did not even attach their names to these beautiful scriptures. We have to search the name here and there. Who is the writer of it? They did not copyright anything. What the sages did hope to achieve by sharing the secrets they had discovered was to inspire people to seek the truth for themselves. So that's why when we study these Upanishads, we need to see, are we moving towards this absolute truth? Are we doing what we are supposed to do? Or are we just memorizing the verses? What these sages dearly wanted was to help their fellow humans realize that the life could be a joy if it was lived the right way. And that the human spirit was limitless, infinite. There is an untapped power and potential in each and every one of us. And only we can tap it, our power, our potential, nobody else can. So they encourage their students to tap their own power. So that's what these Upanishads are about. It can be said that it's a rough roadmap to living in such happiness in this world, that you feel that this is a heaven. This life is not a drudgery. We are not limited. And that's what we got to keep in mind when we study the Upanishads. So we are going through another Upanishad, which is called the Prashna Upanishads. Last week we finished Katha Upanishad. This name for this Upanishad is derived from the 6 questions it contains. And this Upanishad belongs to Atharva Veda. And the Rishi who gave the answers to the 6 students' questions, or to 6 questions, is Pippalada Muni, or Muni Pippalada. The first question refers to the origin of the created beings. And that is the first chapter also. Another thing you will see that these questions are very condensed. The answer is given in the rest of the chapter. So 6 chapters. Chapter 1 has 16 verses. Chapter 2 has 13 verses. Chapter 3 has 12 verses. Chapter 4 is 11 verses. Chapter 5 is 7 verses. And chapter 6 is 8 verses. So in these verses, the answers are given. So each chapter separately we will study. So the origin of the created beings, or in other words, where did the creatures born? So that is a question of the first student. And his name is Kabandhi. The second question is about how many devatas support the living beings and who is the greatest. So in other words, constituents of the human personality. This question is about that. And that question is asked by Bhargava. See, later on, all these rishis, they became very popular, very famous in our Hindu literature or Vedic literature. But they were young kids at that time when they went to Rishi Pippalada. And the third question is to the nature and origin of prana. And this is asked by Kaushalya. And the fourth question is about the sleep and the dream. So it's like a psychological aspect of the human personality. And that is asked by the student, the name is Garge. And the fifth question is about the term Pranav, Om. Satyakam is the student. And the sixth is about Atma. And Sukesha is asking this. Moreover, in this Upanishad, we will find a clear mention being made of the creation originating from matter and energy. We will see how beautifully it is explained. You all know the term Upanishad. Even though we say Upanishad is the cream of the Vedas, but this word itself has a deep meaning. Up plus nishad. Up means near, close, in proximity. Up. Nishad means to sit. So this very word indicates that this is the science that a person should learn at the feet of the master. Upanishad. And up also means, see, Sanskrit terms, they are very deep. There's so many different meanings. So up also means approaching a guru in extreme humility, with full faith, and with the spirit of seeking. That also means up. And ni means, in Hindi it's called a nishchay or nishtha. So Guru teaches without any reservation. Guru just gives whatever Guru has. If the disciple has that kind of a nishtha, that kind of a reverence and that kind of a determination to learn. The contents of the Upanishads are the esoteric spiritual knowledge. And the purpose of these Upanishads is to reflect upon these sayings and contemplate upon them, because they're so deep. Without reflecting upon them, contemplating upon them, you really cannot get the meaning out. The deeper a person dives into the significance of the passages, the greater the hidden meanings he could discover in them. So we got to churn on them. We got to really see what is he saying, because with the minimum words, there is so much given to us. So this reading of the scriptures or the Upanishads should be undertaken hand in hand with the subjective discipline and abhyas. So it's not just a mere reading of a book. We got to contemplate upon it, and we got to do what we are supposed to do. So strict discipline means we got to eat pure food, sattvic food, sattvic thoughts, not just during studies, otherwise also. And a regular divine contemplation. Think about God. If these are our questions, this is our quest, so we got to go deeper into it. If we spend so much time in the social media, how can we do this? All day long, if the phone is in our hand, TV is on, or other music on, we really cannot understand what these rishis are telling us. There has to be silence within and a quietness outside. Simpler the life, then you can really, these scriptures, they will speak to you. You will feel that you are sitting at the feet of these great rishis. Whether it was a Yamaraj in the Kath Upanishad or whether it's a Pippalada Muni of the Prussia Upanishads. You can ask your questions to the Pippalada Muni too. These munis, they can come and visit you. But you have to have that kind of a earnest, this kind of a desire. So all the Upanishads are a conversation between a learned person of realized wisdom. So it's not just only a theoretical knowledge, realized. And these rishis, they were living a life of perfection, living a life of truth. And they wanted their disciples to have that kind of a discipline too. Purity, kindness, perfect brahmacharya. That's what they wanted. Only then the meaning of life, the purpose of existence, the diagnosis of our sorrows, and the remedy for all our finite weaknesses, we can understand. We should try to understand, are we living a life of purity or not? Do we have a faith in the words of these gurus? Do we have sincerity in our learning and earnestness, or even a spirit of sacrifice? Spirit of sacrifice is giving up your time, giving up whatever you think belongs to you for the help of others. That's a sacrifice. That is a selfless living. Are we doing that? Or are we constantly absorbed in our own comforts? Purity, self-control. That is important to really understand the beauty of these Upanishads. Because when we live a pure life, when we have these qualities, then we will have the necessary mental stamina, or we'll have an intellectual poise, or even a physical endurance to rip open the veils of the current negativities in us and discover that infinite truth, which is expressed in the Upanishads and which we are in reality. And again, that no Upanishad opens without a prayer portion. So this Upanishad is like that too. And technically, this prayer portion is called Shanti Part, peace invocation, the chanting of the invocation. It's like a very usual routine insisted upon for both the teacher and the taught. Both sing it together. As we all know, prayer, when we look at the meaning of the prayer, we are making an attempt to invoke the mighty potentialities that are already in us through a process of mental integration. That's what prayer is. Because this Supreme cannot deny us. If we tune towards the Supreme the right way, because Supreme, the Absolute, the Brahman is everywhere. We are the one who got to tune up to that frequency. So through the prayers, we do that. We tune ourselves. Through the divine process of invocation also. See, invocation is the demand made by the head. That's the invocation. And prayer is a meek submission by the heart. So if somebody wants to know what the difference between invocation and prayer, this is what it is. We need the head also, we need the heart also. We need to make available all our instruments for this kind of a deep study. So that's why the invocation in beginning of every Upanishad. And for this Upanishad, I'm sure this is in your book also. Om Bhadram Karnebhi Shrinuyam Deva Bhadram Pashem Akshbhi Jatraha Sthirai Ange Tushtva Tanubhi Vyashem Devahitam Yadayu. So this is like a 2 lines, one prayer, then the second one we'll do separately, the second 2 lines. So Om, that is God. When we say Om, Bhadram, auspicious. Karne bhi, Karan is ears, with our ears. Shrinuyam, we hear. Devaha, oh gods. Again, Bhadram, auspicious. Pashem, may we see. Akshibhi, with our eyes. Yajatraha, O worshipful one. Sathirai, strong. Angai, with limbs. Tushtuvansa, who pray, like we are praying. Tanubhi, with the body. Vyashame, may we live. Devahitam, allotted by gods, the devatas. Yat means what? Ayu means life. So this is the very first, somebody is asking which page. In your book, it is the very first Upanishad, Prashna Upanishad. Okay. Om. With our ears, what is auspicious? May we hear. Oh gods. With our eyes, may we see what is auspicious. Oh, you worshipful one. May we who sing praises to you enjoy the life allotted to us by the gods with strong limbs and body. So you can see that we need this body. We need to take care of this body. We need the sense organs also. So we are praying that God give us the wisdom so that we take care of this temple where we are residing. Okay. So this is a Shanti part of the Shanti part. Praying. But just praying alone is not enough. That's why we often talk about the Hatha Yoga also. If we want our eyes to see for 100 years, got to do the exercises, got to eat right, to take care of these instruments. Okay, the ears also, the limbs also, the prana also. Do our part. Okay. The second part to this prayer, Swasti na Indro Vridshava, Swasti na Pusha Vishwadevaha, Swasti na Takshaho Arishnemi, Swasti na Brispati Dadhatu. Swasti. Swasti means welfare. Na means to us. Indra. Okay, that's Indra Devta. Vrid Shravaha. The far famed. Again, Swasti, the welfare or auspicious. Na Pushaha. Na means to us, Pusha, the great sustainers. Vishwadeva, the Vishwadeva. Again, Na Swasti, Arishnemi. One of a chariot of unchecked wheels. That means the sun. And Tarkshvaha. That's what really means that the unchecked wheels. Swasti na Brihaspati dadhatu. Brihaspati, the Lord of speech. Auspiciousness there too. So may the far-famed Indra grant us welfare. So you're praying to Indra, Devta. May the great sustainers, the Vishwadevas, grant us welfare. May the son of the chariot of unchecked wheels grant us welfare. Okay, so son, this is Surya Devta. May the Lord of speech grant us welfare. So you see that when we sing these prayers from our heart, we feel connected with these higher powers and we feel there's a humility in us. There's a bigger power than us. Otherwise, we think we know everything and we got everything. Humility is needed. So this opening of this Upanishad with invocation prayer, so both teacher and the students, they are crying for peace actually. When we say auspicious, that means we want peace. That's what we are looking for. Peace, health, tranquility, strength, not just for us individually, but for the whole world. And not just for the world of the human beings, but for the entire world of created beings. That's what our rishis taught us, are still teaching us. Because a materialistic civilization is built upon the stance of acquisition, the ownership. I want more and more for myself. That is a materialistic civilization. But a spiritual culture, where these Vedic hymns came from, these Upanishads were written, that culture is a temple raised upon the rocky foundation of renunciation and sacrifice. Okay, not acquisition, but how can I help others? So this peace invocation, which we'll recite every week before our class, I will not go through the meaning, but we'll just recite it together. If it becomes a duty for everybody to see auspiciousness around, and when we are acting also, doing our deeds also the same way, whether it's in our family or whether in our neighborhood or at our workplace, no matter where we go, we can see that that will be an ideal society. That's what our rishis cried for. And this change cannot happen overnight. It takes time. So that's why we got to keep on invoking this kind of a peace, at least inside us, through our words and wherever we go. So you can see that the Vedic seers, they lived in a spirit of renunciation, vairagya, and always acted on the principles of universal love. That's where the other very famous prayer, Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina, Sarve Santu Niramaya, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu. You're all familiar with that prayer. A universal love. That perfect generation of the Vedic period, perfect in every sense of the term, was not blind to the necessities of the physical and material world. So materially also, they were rich. That's why the true dharma is where we take care of our material necessities, but at the same time, we don't forget the basic principles of our life. Okay, so no peace invocation is concluded without thrice repeating or invoking peace. And what is that? You're all familiar with Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. From there, you can see that how balanced. We are praying to God, give me peace at that physical level. Give me peace at the mental level. Give me peace at the intellectual level. That's what it means. 3 times when we repeat peace. So let me read this meaning of both of these couplets together. Oh God, may we hear with our ears always what is auspicious. O worshipful one, may we with our eyes see what is auspicious. May we live the entire length of our allotted life hale and hearty, offering our praises unto you. May Indra, the ancient and the famous, Pushna, the sun, the all-knowing, the Lord of the swift motion Vayu, who saves us from all harms, and Brihaspati, who protects the spiritual wealth in us, bless us all with the intellectual strength to understand the scripture and the heroic heart to follow its teachings. This is the implied meaning also of this verse. So I gave you the word by word meaning, and then this is what it really means. Now let's start with the first verse. Om Sukeshaha cha Bhardvajaha Shabashcha Satyakamaha Sorye Nishashcha Gargyaha Koshalyascha Ashwalayanaho Bhargavo Vedharvi Kabandhi Katyanaste Hetehi Brahmpara Brahmanishtaha Param Brahm Anveshmanaha Eshahave Tat Sarvam Vakshatitihi Te Samitpanyo Bhagwantam Pippalada Upasannaha. A long verse over here, lot of names, and names are those students and the teacher also. So at the end, Pippalada, that is a Pippalada Muni. Again, Om, all these mantras, they do start with Om, God. Sukeshaha, that's the name of one of the student. Cha means and. Bhardwajaha, son of Bhardwaj. Shabya, son of CB. So their fathers are also rishis. So these are Rishi Kumars. Shabya. Cha means and. Satyakamaha, that's a name again. Satyakam. Then next is Suryani, the grandson of Surya. Gargeha, of the Garga. Kausalya, that is another name. Kausalya. Cha means and. Ashwalayanaha, the son of Ashwal. Bhargav, that is a name again, Rishi Bhargav, born of the Vrigu Gotra. Vedharbhi, that's again a name of Vidarbha. Kabandhi, that's the name of that student. Katyayanaha, the son of Katya. And at that time, his great-grandfather was living also. Then after then, te, her means so, te means they. Brahmapara, devoted to Brahma. Brahmanishtaha, steadfast in Brahma. Param, the supreme. Brahma, absolute. Anveshamanaha, seeking. Esh means that. How way? Surely. Tat means that. Sarvam means all. Vakshyatitihi, will tell. Again, te means that. Her means surely. Samitpanyo. It's a very key word in this verse, Samitpanyo. Samita is the dry wood which we use to do the yajna. And this tells you that all the rishis every day, they did the yajna. So these students, what did they take for the teacher? Fuel in hand, the dry wood pieces. Samitpan. Pani means hand, Samita means that dry wood. Samitpanyo, with the sacrificial fuel in hand. Bhagavantam, that means respected. Pippalada, Upasannaha. Pippalada is the name of the Muni. Upasanna means approached. Sukesh, son of Bhardwaj. Satyakam, son of Sibi. Garge, the grandson of Surya, born in the Garge Gotra. Son of Ashwal, Kaushalya. Bhargav of the Vidarbha city, belonging to the Bhrigu Gotra. Kabandhi, son of Katya, all of them devoted to Brahma and centered in Brahma. So it's Brahmapara and Brahmanishtaha. Approached Pippalada Muni with fuel in hand, thinking that the Rishi would explain everything to them. Okay, so they are setting up the scene for us that how these young rishis, they approach this rishi, the humility. And so the names of Sukesh, Satyakam, Garge, Kaushalya, Bhargav, and Kabandhi. So 6 of them. So this is a story of these 6 young seekers approaching a great master, Pippalada by the name. So you want to remember these names. Because they must have some, even though they were the sons of the great rishis also, but they must have heard about this great rishi and they had these questions. They said, he can answer these questions for us. Upanishads, they employ 4 methods to bring out these philosophies in their writings. The names of those 4 methods are called Sututi, Ninda, Parakriti, and Purakalapam. Stuti means these rishis, they glorify the noble values of life. Stuti. But then what is Ninda? That is a technique where sometimes vehemently they warn against the opposites also. Like if you do this, this will happen. So warning us from the false values. That's a Ninda. And other times, elaborately, they quote the examples of some noble people. Parakriti. Somebody did this. That's a role model for you. Just like Lord Krishna told Arjuna, Janakadi, they were the great Karam yogis. You should follow them. Because you are a leader, other people will follow you. That was a Parakriti. Somebody else's good deeds. And then the 4th kind of Upanishads are called Purakalpam. So these are like a once upon a time kind of a Upanishads. That's how it starts. Once upon a time. So like a story. It could be historical, but it could be just to arouse the enthusiasm in the student's mind. Because whenever we hear once upon a time, we want to listen. Because we are used to listening to the stories that once upon a time, ever since we were little, from our parents, grandparents, other relatives, once upon a time. So this particular Upanishad has it's like a Purakalpam, the 4th category, once upon a time. Once upon a time, these 6 young boys, they went to the Rishi Pippalada with these dry sticks in their hands because they had some doubts and they wanted to ask these rishis some questions. So Purakalpa. So they reached the feet of that noble master. But they definitely were established. That's why this Brahmpara and Brahmanishtaha, that means they were already educated in the lower themes of knowledge. Or they already knew the secular subjects. They knew the importance of the spiritual life. But again, there was a desire to learn more. It's like an ocean. Just one time you just look at the ocean, you are not satisfied. You want to know deeper and deeper and deeper. What is in there? Where did it come from? How big it is? So even though they were fairly well established in their practice of truth, in some of the techniques, and those techniques could have been upasana, maybe their mind and intellect, they had the subtlety in it. And that's why they prepared themselves. They knew what to take for the Guru also. We know that going to the sacred places, visiting Guru's ashrams, doing some sacrifices, those are all good deeds to do. But still we need answers for our questions. Okay, we are all familiar with asana and the pranayama and the Guru Seva, all those things. Upanishads, some Upanishads are Brahman and some Upanishads are mantra. Sometimes people get confused with these two terms. Are they mantra Upanishad or Brahman Upanishad? Mantra Upanishad, they contain crisp and highly volatile material. And that is like an intuitive wisdom which has been splashed to these rishis in their meditation. Those are the mantra Upanishads. Like in their higher flights of the meditation, it just erupted. Mantra Upanishad. And the Brahman Upanishad, they elaborate on the explanation of the Mantra Upanishad. Okay, so this Upanishad is called a Brahman Upanishad, not a Mantra Upanishad. Okay, and what is the Mantra Upanishad which is associated with this one? Say Mundak Upanishad. That's why there are a lot of truths which we study in the Mundak Upanishad is in this Prashna Upanishad also. So that is a Mantra Upanishad. This is a Brahman Upanishad. Before we end today's class, I just want you to understand the significance of taking the fuel in hand, because I told you that's very significant. When the students, they approach the master, sure, they are taking something which master can use, because just like I said, masters, the gurus, they did the havan, the yajnas. So this is something which they can use. Bundle of samit. But there is a symbol of self-surrender there. Insignia of the true disciplehood there. So these students, they are saying, just like you are burning this dry wood, please burn my vasanas also. Help me burn the vasanas. Because we take this birth again and again because of the vasanas, the impressions on our mind. So that is a deeper significance of taking the bundle of samit. So sure, master can use, but remember that also. Because there is a spiritual agony in their mind. They are seeking the remedy through self-dedicated study and practice. So all these 6 students. So we'll end the class here today. Next week, we will start with the verse number 2. Okay. Om Purnamada Purnam Idam Purnat Purnam Udachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Viseshyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you very much.